Good morning. Welcome to the Point North 2022 annual meeting, virtually meeting this year. Before we get started, I have a few quick housekeeping things to mention. If you have questions throughout the meeting, please use the chat function, and then through as we come off breaks or as our guest speaker finishes, we'll include those questions in the program. We do have a customer response plan in place. It is, we've got key people in different lines of business ready for to help customers. And then on breaks, we'll have some music and things playing. They'll be 5 minutes in duration. Lunch will resume back at 12:30, and then we'll go to our guest speaker. Our agenda today, Bill's going to give us some welcome remarks. We'll review 2021, talk a little bit about 2022, introduce some of our new partners that have joined us since 20 and 21, have an award ceremony, and then last but not least, our guest speaker. So Bill, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Again, welcome to everyone. This is something we do every year. Well, we have in the past. We've started an annual meeting a number of years ago. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, as we all know, has disrupted that somewhat. We look forward to getting together again next year with an in-person annual meeting. It's been a great and interesting 26 years. 25 years prior to 1996, last year would have been our 25th anniversary.
So Bill, can you tell us a little bit about the story?
Yeah. 25 years ago, I should say, I'm referring to 2021. We started, Mary and I put together a corporation, and we purchased the Aaramba company in Atlanta, Georgia. It was on Cheshire Bridge Road. And we had 6 employees at that time, and it was a very small agency, about $500,000 in revenue. I'm telling the story, many of you have heard this before, but some of our folks are new and may not know where we came from and how this all occurred. I was looking to do something different. I'd been in several independent agencies, and I wasn't really sure where I was headed. I was 41 years old, bought a small agency, and realized quickly that it wasn't growing and it wasn't where I wanted to be. I wanted to do something more. And I had a couple of friends join me at that time, brought their books of business, and we started to grow. That led to the idea that we could grow by acquisition or merger and then use the excess revenue to develop more producers. But that hadn't happened yet. At the beginning, it was very small. We grew incrementally. Between 1997 and 2009, we grew to about $5 million in revenue. And in 2009, John Langsville, one of our current partners, joined me, and that allowed us to go from about $3 million to $5 million plus. And then a couple of acquisitions later, in 2012, we had reached about $7.8 million in revenue. And that's when we decided that we needed our own perpetuation model. John was a little older than me, and there was just 2 of us, well, 3 of us. Stan Hodges had also joined us. And we decided that we needed to perpetuate ourselves, and we didn't have a vehicle to do so. At that point, we brought in an investment partner, Broad Street Partners, which became our source of capital.
So Bill, can you tell us a little bit about the model?
Well, today we're at 40.1 million, and the way we got there was that we have over 230 employees in 13 locations, and we're now one of the 70th largest insurance agencies in the United States. The way we got there, our model, is that we acquire or merge books of business, and with the scale and the cash flow, we continue to invest in new resources and develop producers to create more revenue. In other words, we create value by acquisition and organic growth. When you're smaller, it's difficult to expand and grow. The capital's not available, and it's very, very difficult to invest in your business. But the strategy that kind of evolved has allowed us to grow, and as we continue to grow, it throws off more cash flow that we can continue to invest. I'll talk a little bit more about our revenue goals and projections in a few minutes. But I guess what really comes down to is when somebody says, "What's an American success story?" We are an example of that. It's something that I can tell you 26 years ago was unexpected. I was at that time thought if we could, I would think we were 500,000. I thought if I ever got it to $1.5 million in revenue, that I'd be very successful and I'd probably retire. And obviously that didn't happen. It went way beyond that. A few years after we started, especially after John joined me and we did the Broad Street deal and brought in our investment partners, started to grow and expanded to multiple offices, we weren't able to see each other every day. And it became more difficult to stay in touch and communicate. When I worked at Cincinnati Insurance Company, they had an annual meeting that we all attended once a year and allowed us all to get together and see the management, see our fellow associates at Cincinnati. And I thought that'd be a good idea for us to incorporate at Point North. So I don't know how many years ago, probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, we started holding annual meetings. Initially, they were smaller, of course, but since that time, we've expanded going off-site and had them at a number of locations. I think some of our most enjoyable annual meetings have been at attending several Braves games where we had our meeting in the morning and then we're able to get together and enjoy ballpark food and the game and an afternoon baseball game. And in 2020, we actually had planned to go to the Atlanta Aquarium, which I think would have been a great event as well. We had arranged through some of our insurance client partners to transport folks from Alabama and through South Georgia up to Atlanta to attend that. And unfortunately, we had to cancel that because, as we remember, in March of 2020, we had to shut down and go primarily remote for a number of months. Looking forward then next year to hopefully getting back to that type of an event. I think you all enjoy it, and I think that with all the new partners and locations that have joined us, you'll see it'll help us develop a little more camaraderie and cohesiveness as all part of Point North.
Well, thanks, Bill. Are you ready to go ahead and talk about 2021? I think Bill's going to start with the financial highlights.
Yeah, this past year in 2021, we ended up a little over $40 million in revenue, with selling almost $4 million in new business. Our organic growth ended up with a net 3.3%, and our EBITDA target of 26% was slightly exceeded. I think we came in about 26.5%, and that equated to $182,600 of revenue per employee. Now we're a little different. You know, every agency's different. An agency that's primarily large commercial, the revenue per employee would be larger. An agency primarily in personal lines, the revenue per employee could be smaller. Since we're a hybrid of many different business models, we are 20% personal lines, 70-some% commercial, have a decent sized employee benefits book of about 8 or 9% of revenue now. That affects our revenue per employee. I expect that will continue to grow though as we take advantage of our scale through continued growth and merger acquisition of partners.
Bill, I know we've talked about EBITDA a lot in the past, but we have a number of people that have joined us that may not know what that means.
I've been made fun of for using EBITDA. I think somebody in a prior meeting called me Mr. EBITDA or something. That's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. But really what that is, a simplified look at it, is our revenue less our operating expenses, which is our operating profit. And operating expenses are payroll, benefits, rent, IT cost, all those type of things thrown together.
Great, thanks. So I'm going to talk a little bit, Bill, no, before I talk, you need to talk a little bit about growth.
Yeah, well, we grow by a number of ways. You know, obviously our model is two things that are the most important, and that is acquisition, of course, which is a big deal for us. And having that access to capital has really driven helped us create value, which is important to all of our investors as well as our employees. It allows us to continue to grow jobs and be more successful. But the other important part of that is the organic growth, and the only way we can get that is to continue to hire new producers that are in the field generating new revenue from new sales. Along with that, as we've grown, we've also expanded and developed some programs, as you can see on your slide. But a few highlights, and I hope that's for us to emphasize this more, is to refer within the agency opportunities for employee benefits. I want to give Kirby Smith kudos on his non-emergency medical transport program, which has grown significantly. Management liability, which we continue to emphasize, the D&O, the EPLI, the cyber, all the products inside of those portfolios. And then, of course, bringing Dennis Daska into towing and record programs, which we now are pushing into Georgia as well. Those are all important. And then this past year, we established Point North Transportation, which is our vehicle to combine our small fleet transportation agencies into one unit to make it more easy to manage, as well as recruit producers too. Again, we continue our acquisition strategy. I think we have 3 active opportunities that we're involved in right now, with several more in the pipeline to hopefully move forward with later on this year.
Thanks, Bill. So I'll go ahead and talk for a minute about our operational initiatives the past year. We, having switched so rapidly to a predominantly remote workplace in many of our locations, especially the urban ones, we had to kind of readjust some of our best practices and policies around that. So we've gotten those in place, gotten some equipment issues worked out, and I think we'll continue to check that and monitor it. We're going to continue to leverage technology. I mean, you're going to hear that a lot with us, and I think moving to the remote work model really pushes that to the forefront. Touch quickly on a couple of really important projects, so as they bring a lot to around efficiency. We're working with Vertafore on a single entry small commercial new business submission product. They now have 8 or 9 carriers. If they've expanded it from work comp to BOP and to property. So that's becoming a tool that would be very much like our PL Rater that many of you might be aware of, that could really be a big help on the types of business that falls outside of the middle market commercial marketing team. Client communications, that's the partnership with Vertafore and Rocket Referral that gives us an easy way to interface with our customers, push some communication out to them in a secure fashion. It also allows us to get some surveying done, some Google surveying. So that's a really great tool. Right now, we've only been doing it in personal lines. We're going to see if we can't roll that out to small commercial and transportation moving forward. This year, we also moved to a new HR and payroll system, which is not a small feat. That's Paylocity. That particular tool also allowed us to conduct the anonymous brand survey that we did in October that we'll talk about in a minute. Bill talked a little bit about Point North Transportation. That's combining of the small fleet operations with Caribou, D&G, and Alexander, Heath, and Walker, HW. We've got that started. That's all about leveraging the markets, leveraging the service teams, so that we have the scale we need to grow and absorb the growth. Talent development. One of the things that we'll talk about in a minute around learnings is around talent development. We've done a good bit around promoting from within, so we saw some leadership positions get promoted into, as well as some service positions as account managers and account service managers. I believe Matt also has a very important promotion that occurred in his sales team as well. Real estate. So obviously going remote, that changed a few things about how we view real estate. But in the process of the year, we also did a little refresh. We refreshed the McNeil space and the Cummings space. They both look great. And then we're combining Caribou and D&G and AHW in the same location. And then Caribou relocated into Iron Mountain in Birmingham. And then I'll leave it to Bill and a few others to talk a little bit about what's going to happen in Circle 75 in 2022. So, Bill, can you talk a little bit about how you view 2021 in terms of successes and lessons that we learned?
Well, really, 2021 was a continuation of 2020. As we all remember, in March of 2020, we went home on a Friday and we didn't open back up for a number of months. We primarily went remote, especially the first few weeks. After the first few weeks, we had a few accounting people that manned the office in Atlanta, and we had reception teams in Atlanta to handle processing of mail, et cetera. But primarily, we were remote. Other offices evolved differently, where they were some in, some out, as we dealt with the pandemic. We were concerned at the beginning, really concerned about our ability to grow our revenue or even maintain our revenue. We was concerned about our customers and what would happen with their operations, and whether they would have reductions in their operations, which would result in, of course, audit returns and reduced revenue for us. So we planned for that. Unfortunately, none of that occurred. We actually had positive organic growth in 2020 and 2021. We continued our M&A activity, although with some difficulty, but we continued that. It made it a little more difficult to transition some of our partners as they came in. We actually ended up employing more people at the end of 20 and 21 than we had at the beginning of those years, and our contingent income to continue to grow. Overall, we had our best years ever in 20 and 21. Surprisingly, unexpected when we started this in March of 20. So I'm optimistic going into the rest of 22 as this pandemic, hopefully, or endemic, whatever it ends up being, winds down, and that we continue to add producers, which is our intention, is to push our producer program to get more revenue because of the necessity to meet our revenue needs for new business. So looking forward again, and again, the success of us in the pandemic was due to every one of you doing your jobs every day remotely from your locations, and our accounting team being on site to make sure that we continue to process commissions and pay the expenses, et cetera. So overall, good teamwork overall by all people involved. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we are going to go to a quick break. And I believe there's a little video that you can enjoy, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Matt and I were just joking that we'd give anything to be able to stand up and walk around and move our arms a little bit, because this is really an exercise in discipline to sit behind a table and in front of a camera. But anyway, we're back to talk a little bit about 2022. Our conversation is going to still fall into the same buckets, one around growth, one around some things we're working on from an operational perspective. You'll note that not a lot's different. We have a tendency to stick to our knitting and focus on continuous improvement. There is one thing that's a little that is going to be different though, and that's the brand refresh, and we'll talk about that a little more in a few minutes. So Matt, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Mary. And in case y'all are wondering, this is as uncomfortable as it seems. I was told to treat this like a Zoom call, but this is like a Zoom call with 4 people you just met staring at you and lights surrounding you. So I'm going to do my best, but thanks, Mary. Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things, and Bill alluded to it earlier, is organic growth. We will continue to grow through acquisition, but our ability to grow organically is just as important, if not more important. So back in 2016, that was something that we decided we really needed to put more of a focus on. So over the last few years, we've brought in producers and kind of, a lot by trial and error, but have been able to build a culture and an atmosphere that we think has been successful. So with that, last year, Bill alluded, our organic growth was 3.3%, which we're very proud of, but we think we can do better. Our goal this year is 5%, and we think there's no reason we can't hit that. But to do that comes with developing and hiring more producers. We've got to develop, we've got to hire, and we've got to create more structure. When we started the program with myself and 4 other producers, it was easy to hold each other accountable and do the things we needed to do. Now that we're up over 20 producers in this group, we've had to put more structure in place to put them in a better position to be more successful. So we're going to continue to build. We're going to continue to scale this program. We're going to continue to bring it out to all of our locations. We're going to put people in place and structures in place to help everyone be successful. We really need to focus in on the day in and day out things that producers do to be successful. Next thing we're going to really pivot to this year and focus on is the phase 2 of the Point North transportation. So phase 1 was really getting the operational piece together, getting the markets together, getting the service teams together, finding to gain that scale. Now it's time to grow. We're going to hire, we're going to train, we're going to develop, and we're going to grow. And then lastly, we really need to focus on this year's retention. This has been a little difficult in the environment we've been in the last 2 years, but we also have a lot of legacy books of business that we need to really get behind and retain. You can bring in a lot of business through the front door, but if it's going out the back door, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. So we're going to be putting some programs into place to help retention, to help legacy books of business transition, and I think it will just get us toward that 5% we need to be. Mary?
Thanks, Matt. Okay, so I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we are going to continue to focus on the technology. We want to get that single submission, small commercial new business model out more consistently across the group. So because we think that it'll save a lot of time, especially on renewals and those kinds of things. We want to push more, get more out of client communications, and then also consider getting it out to commercial and some of the other lines of business. And then Matt and Katie are going to be working on our social media policy and guidelines and practices, and coming up with maybe some structure around how we can leverage that a little bit more consistently than we've done in the past, and also across all the different divisions. Matt talked about phase 2 on the Point North transportation. We hope to have everyone moved into their new building at D&G and HW by the end of
Any day.
February, and then getting that their service teams kind of acclimated to one another so that we can get moving and take care of some load balancing there. And then obviously the continued support for our M&A transitions. Alabama Insurance Exchange, which I'm going to refer lovingly to as AIE this point forward, will be onboarding their partnership in, I think it's effective April 1st.
So we're targeting.
So they'll be moving to all of our operating systems, and we'll be working closely with them throughout that transition and probably into the fall, because it takes a minute to get used to all of that. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about our brand and the refresh and how we can stay connected moving forward. And in the, I think, Matt, you and I are back up after the break, but part of what we're going to be talking about is the survey that we did, what came out of that, and what we think the next steps will be. Thanks, and we'll see you shortly.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. As you can see, I am not Laura, so I owe you an apology that you have to sit here and look at me for another segment, as I've been told I have a face for radio. So, Mary, I'll
Okay.
turn it over to you.
So I wanted to thank Matt for agreeing to fill in for Laura, but I really want to thank Laura and Courtney Ned for all the work they've done on this next section and the work they did to get the employee survey out. So anyway, thanks, and we're so sorry that Laura couldn't join us today. I don't know if you all remember this. I would suspect that probably maybe 58% of you would not, because that's how much has changed since the time that that we did our brand identity work in 2015. We've doubled in size. 58% of you weren't here, and we came to the conclusion that it was time to refresh. So in October of 2014, we sent out the anonymous survey to the entire organization and asked you for your feedback around how you thought we were doing relative to our vision and values. So the survey asked us to rank how we felt, how we were doing, and we did that. We had a good, strong response rate, 68%, 215 participants. Of the 146 responses, 58% of you had only been with us for 5 years. So that's pretty telling. It's also pretty rewarding because when you look at the responses in total, somehow we still manage to kind of remain connected and true to what we say we want to be, despite the growth and despite the changes we've been through in the last 18 months. Matt is going to, this is kind of how the respondents worked out. Matt, will you walk us through the results?
Sure. So, with our core values, we find it's always important that that's what we want to stick to. That's who we want to be. And in a lot of cases, we get very busy and we want to, we're not checking our pulse to make sure we're living up to what we want to live up to. The goal with all these is for it to become second nature. So This is really a good scorecard to see how we've been doing it. So when you look at teamwork, you can see that 80% of you thought that we were living up to that value, which is a good number. With the service side of things, 84% of you thought that we were living up to our value of a dedicated delivery of exceptional client service, which is very important to our customers and us. Creativity. Again, 84% of you thought we were constantly seeking in new ways to change. I mean, we always want to evolve with the changing environment and leverage the tools that are there, and looks like we're doing so. Integrity. This is integrity. This is a very important one to me, and I think it should be important to everybody. And this was 90%. We always want to hold ourselves out to be the highest of standards, and to be able to deliver on that, I think, is one of the most important things we can do. And all doing it while being humble. I think we need to appreciate what we've got. We've got to appreciate who we are. We've got to, work within each other. And 91% of us thought that we were working with humility. And for everybody, I think it's important. You spend most of your day at work, most of your life really at work during this time of your life. And for 81% of us to think that we provide a rewarding work environment, I think is great. But I think there's always room for us to do better. And then lastly, community involvement. And this is one that we really want to take a focus on this year. And this is something that has been very difficult the last couple of years. It's been difficult to get out in the community and deliver, but even so, we're still delivering at 73%. So, that's definitely something we really want to put a focus and continue to improve.
And we'll talk about that. Actually, Pam and Bill will be talking about that a good bit in the next couple of minutes. So to me, the thing I get out of these responses and the quality of the response is that even though some of us are relatively new to the organization, we had 4 or 5 acquisitions or 6 acquisitions in the last 18 months. Mm-hmm. So many of you are brand new, but we were like-minded before we partnered. So some of the same critical things that were important at Point North were important to you before joining the Point North family. The other thing that it says to me is that this group is pretty good at holding themselves accountable. and there's a commitment there, and intuitively these things make sense to you. When you look at the profiles of the scores that we had from the respondents, I guess in total, and I'm not a big survey guru, but from what I've been told, there's a sentiment score that you get from these types of activities. And the sentiment score kind of tells you, as an organization, are we way off base, or are we exceptionally meeting our standards and our goals, or are we kind of doing what we think we need to do and kind of in that neutral space? Our sentiment score for this particular survey was neutral. And frankly, given what we've all just kind of gone through, and all, not only some of the partnership transitions, but just with having to change our workplace model and some of those kinds of things, and adjusting to just how our customers acted a little differently. So I think overall, I think it puts us in a great place. So next steps. We'll be working with Laura and Courtney and developing a task force that's going to be across all business units and divisions and lines of business. And we need to kind of prioritize and evaluate what we got out of the survey and some of the comments, and then identifying that low-hanging fruit that we can act upon. But as Matt mentioned, community involvement, that requires a whole rethink for us. Before, it was much easier to organize events that we could go to in the different locations and get people involved in, be it a habitat or a food kitchen or any of those kinds of things. Well, things have changed a little bit, and folks are still trying to figure out how all that works in the current environment. So we have come up with a couple ways that we think we can re-engage in that arena and do so in a meaningful way. So when we come back from break, Bill and Pam are going to introduce us to the method in which we're going to do this, and it's called Point North Gives. So with that, we'll give you a few minutes and we'll be back.
Welcome back from break. Bill, I enjoyed earlier hearing that you remembered your name is Mr. EBITDA. I think that a few years ago at our annual meeting is where that name emerged. So I'll just say it's really easy being a CFO in an organization where the CEO has a nickname of EBITDA. So thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the things that I have noticed when I write checks is there's a few checks you really don't mind signing. You're quick to sign those. So tell us a little bit about which checks you enjoy signing the most.
Sure. Which we will. But I want to also say, Matt said that I failed my interview or my opportunity to be a sports reporter on TV because he said I was a little too stiff. So I'll try not to be as stiff. Yeah. So last year, a friend of mine, Trey Sanders with Brassfield and Gorey, invited me to a function at their office down the street. And it involved the Cobb Community Foundation, which is based here in our building with the Cobb Chamber of Commerce. And at that meeting, the discussion was about the Cobb Community Foundation, the ability to set up a donor advisory fund. And I was familiar somewhat with that because Mary and I had set up a donor advisory fund a few years ago for participating in scholarship donations at the university I attended, and which we also helped with development of some facilities there for the baseball program. So I was familiar with the what a donor advisory fund does and the ability to manage money for not just donations, but contributions to other community organizations to help them. So attending this function, I thought that'd be a great thing for Point North to look into. So we invited Cobb Community Foundation to come and see us, and they presented their thoughts about what we might be able to do. So Pam, go ahead and give us some idea of what we may be looking forward to.
Absolutely. So in December of 2021, we funded the fund with an initial, I guess you'll call it seed money, from Point North, and have made that fund available for giving donations from our employees, from our partners, and Point North will also continue to match the donations that are made by others. So the Point North Gives is the new brand that we will operate under. It's a fund that was established in conjunction with the Cobb County Community Foundation, the Cobb Community Foundation. That's an organization I've worked with in the past in some volunteer capacities, and I was really excited that we had the opportunity to create our own fund for Point North. What will it do? Our employees and partners can donate money to this fund. The donations are tax deductible the moment they're given, so the year that you wish to give. The fund is then available to fund other, it's called grants that you will request, that you will suggest. We will be kicking off by introducing a committee full of members across the organization. More about that to come. Those committee members will review requests for grants, will approve those grants, and we will be able to give collectively to donations that we feel are important to our mission. So be looking for more about the Point North Gives program, and then there's a follow-up to that.
Yeah, and I want to say also, we've always given, but we never had an organized effort, and I think this will give us more structure in how we plan for that. And it also allows employees to participate and have a better understanding of those things that they all agree, the employees with us, we come together with the organizations we wish to support. And along with that is a scholarship fund. At that meeting also, one of the ideas that was presented was a scholarship fund. And again, Mary and I had established a scholarship at the university that I attended, the University of Akron. Some of you may be aware of that. And we fund that out of our donor advisory fund. So with that, I decided that we probably ought to do something to benefit our employees at our golf club. we had set up a similar fund through the Cobb Community Foundation, which provides scholarships for employees and family members of our golf club. So, Pam, go ahead and give us some thoughts about ideas of what we're planning to do with our scholarship fund.
Sure. So expanding to the scholarship fund will allow us to fund, as you can see on this slide, 3 potential types of education. We have 2 and 4-year college degrees, of course, and then trade designations and training, and even certifications. And if you think about how this supports our longer-term goals, we will potentially be able to recruit from these pool of candidates and after they can finalize their educations and enter the workforce. So that gives us good opportunities to support people that we eventually want to recruit.
Yeah, and
I
I want to mention, it's also, of course, we said employees, but if you are currently attending or planning on attending for further education, it's something you can apply to be eligible for our scholarships. And I think we'll have a committee on that as well, but we'll probably initially plan for a number. We'll decide what number that is each year that we'll fund and how much the scholarships will be for. And then we'll do that annually. And if the fund grows, then we can, of course, provide either an additional limit or more or potentially more scholarships as Point North grows. Right now, with 230 employees, I'm sure it should be a really good benefit for a lot of you.
I think we're all really excited to see what happens with Point North Gives, both the Giving Fund and the scholarships. We have a lot of generous people in this organization. I was talking to one of our partners just this morning about a grant he had requested from a fund that had been awarded, and seeing the excitement that our employees have for giving and causes in the community is really interesting. So, segueing now to one of our other favorite topics.
Right. Our partners.
Our partners. They're what keep us going around here. The first partner on the list is Burger O'Neill. Burger O'Neill joined us in September of 2019, and the principals were Michael Berger and Lee O'Neill. Burger O'Neill is located in Alpharetta, Georgia, and continues to operate in that location. It's a property and casualty agency with a focus on high net worth personal lines and middle market. They have a strong history of providing exceptional customer service, and I've seen that personally in the office, just observing the way they interact with their customers. Program business at that location includes the Georgia Optometric Association, Liquor Pack Insurance Program, and the Winery Pack Insurance Program. Some I really think we need to do some risk visits for.
Right. Yeah, Pam, okay, we won't discuss that any further, but I would say that the reason why we're going to go over each of our partners that have joined us the last few years is that in the past at our annual meeting, we would have the individual agencies that joined us to do a presentation and tell us a little bit more about themselves. But with the way we're set up this year, it was best we just go ahead and do a presentation from here. We were unable to get everybody in the room together. Just want to mention, I've known Mike Berger for a long time. Mike and I were producers in the same marketplace going way back probably into the 1980s. And then later on, I met Lee O'Neill by attending the Atlanta Insurance Association in the 90s when I first purchased Paul Rohrbaugh's agency, the one I mentioned on Cheshire Bridge Road. Great folks, known for a long time, and how we got together was, of course, people become somewhat aware of what we do, and we're part of Secure Risk. And I was having dinner one evening with Michael and I believe Lee as well in Nashville at a Secure Risk meeting. And Michael and I discussed it briefly what we did, and they gave us the opportunity to get with them, and we decided to see how things might look if we came together. So especially enjoyed getting together with him and enjoying lunch with Lee several times at, I think it was the Corner Bakery or the Corner something sandwich shop.
Corner Bakery.
Yeah, and anyway, glad they're on board. They're great guys, and just a great opportunity for all of us.
Good. As you have a chance, please try to introduce yourselves to the team members at these different partner locations. I'm going to read a quick list of the team members at Berger O'Neill. We have Rosie Atanasio, Kathy Grant, Juliana Guzman, Carrie Judd, Amanda Mackey, Andrea Potts, and Mike McCarthy. The next partner that joined us in the timeline was the Home Shaw Agency. Principals of the Home Shaw Agency are Bruce Shaw, David Holmes, and Rad Downey. They joined Point North in November of 2019. Home Shaw Agency was just a few miles away in Marietta, Georgia, but are now co-located here in the Circle 75 location with us in Atlanta. The partners there specialize in life, health, and disability insurance. They brought a long-term alliance with the Georgia Bankers Association to Point North, and we continue to operate the partnership under that Home Shaw Agency brand. Since joining Point North, that team of David, Bruce, Rad, and others works closely with Laurie Garbrough and the rest of the Point North's benefit team. They've developed a service solution and process that fosters continued growth of the Point North benefits practice. Bill, I think you've known the partners in that agency for quite a while, so tell us more about them.
Well, Bruce Shaw and I go way back to our former neighborhood years ago in the 1980s at Chestnut Springs. And Bruce is probably laughing or grinning right now that I mentioned that. But that's where I first met Bruce and Ellen, his wife. I think we attended, when we first moved there, they had a party or a get-together at their home one day, and I remember that's where I met Bruce. But of course, known Bruce over the years, and we served at the Atlanta Country Club on the board together, and have always had a good friendship and relationship. And then, of course, through that, meeting David Holmes and I'm going to mention Taylor Smith there as well. But and then Rad Downey. Rad is has been our club champion several times. Adding Bruce, Rad, and Taylor has greatly improved our Point North golf team. And I've already recruited Taylor, who's +4 or 5 to be on my team for our golf outing in April, I believe. So I always try to get some of our better players and make sure our team does well. So anyway, glad to have them on board.
So the rest of the team members, Bill mentioned Taylor Smith. We also have Tina Adams and Sue Hitchner that have joined us from Home Shaw. One of the things that most impresses me about that group is the connection they have with the customers they serve. I think Bruce probably personally knows most of the people insured under those plans by this point after working with them for so many years, and just a joy to hear them talk about their clients with the passion they have for serving them. The next partner is Iron Mountain Insurance. Iron Mountain joined us in February of 2020. Principals there were Matt Kilgore and Jonathan Scarborough. Located in Birmingham, Alabama, they continue to operate out of the same location and they've been offering out of that location, not Matt and Jonathan, they're not quite old enough, but offering from that location with the previous owners for over 60 years, risk management solutions. Primarily commercial lines with a strong practice of cross-selling employee benefits and personal lines accounts. They're a longtime Cincinnati insurance company partner and have a number of programs, including a faith-based program and a mining and fuel transport program. Bill, I know we're very excited about that one. We've brought a lot of talent with Iron Mountain Acquisition. So
We have. That is interesting. My daughter Katie attended college in Birmingham at Birmingham Southern, and became more familiar with Birmingham. And then Lewis Carnes, who was a friend of Matt's, who attended the University of Alabama, was living in Birmingham and went to work for us. So started going to Birmingham, and Lewis introduced me to Matt Kilgore a few years back, a number of years ago. And I remember Matt and I went over to visit with Matt Kilgore and learn more about what he was doing. He had just purchased an agency there, and so we had some discussion about what we did, and kind of gave Matt a little bit background on what we were interested in doing. And so a few years later, I got a call one day from Matt, and we got together, and of course had the opportunity to go over and visit their really nice facility with and of course meet Jonathan Scarborough and the rest of their team. Glad to have them on board. A great group of producers, great service team.
We're going to start back with our presentation of our partners that have joined us in the last year and a half or so, starting with the Staska Agency. The principal of the Staska Agency is Dennis Staska. Staska joined us in July of 2020. And that was right in the heart of the lockdowns, Bill. I think you recall that. We were trying to meet face to face and struggling to have those meetings. So we finally were able to do so and proceeded. The Staska Agency is located in Robertsdale, Alabama, continues to operate out of the same location, have been providing solutions for towing and wrecker owners and operators throughout Alabama and Mississippi for over 21 years. And we are working now with Dennis and his team to further expand the program to other states.
Well, Dennis and I first met Dennis. Actually, Dennis came to us because of an introduction from Jonathan Scarborough and Matt Kilgore. I believe Jonathan had contacted or reached out or knew Dennis and put us together, and we were able to have the opportunity to have Dennis join us in 2020. I've been down to see Dennis in Robertsdale, and we've enjoyed having lunch there with he and his family. Anyway, just a great group of people there, and glad to have Dennis and his team on board. Karen and Jamie.
Karen and Jamie, Karen Parker and Jamie Sosure. Next on the list is the Myrick Agency. The Myrick Agency joined Point North in November of 2020. That was an exciting year. I remember when we were working with Martin on this transaction, the hurricanes were rolling through Alabama. So that was also an interesting time to be doing an acquisition in Alabama. The Myrick Agency, it has offices in both Fairhope and Foley, Alabama. They specialize in coastal solutions for home, auto, boat, RV, vacation properties, small commercial. Bill, you've had some time to spend with the team there.
Right. Matt's been there more than I have, but I will say that I've been there several times. What a beautiful area of the country. The Myrick Agency is in the same area or county as Dennis Staska in Baldwin County, Alabama, which is down on the coast and then up on Mobile Bay. But if any of you have an opportunity to visit that area, Mary and I went down back in August and stayed at the Grand Hotel. Not just a great agency to be partnered with, but a great place to go. I really enjoyed visiting all the folks down at the Myrick Agency, which was introduced to us by Matt Kilgore and Jonathan Scarborough. Matt and Jonathan were fraternity brothers with Martin Myrick at Montevello.
Montevello.
And anyway, glad to have them on board, and again, beautiful place. I look forward to going there and seeing the folks again.
And I think you can tell Matt and Jonathan have been busy because they joined us in February, and by July had introduced us to Dennis and then had introduced us to Martin shortly thereafter. So busy couple of guys working with us on our growth. The next.
Well, the team.
Yep. So part of the team there at the Myrick Agency in those two offices we mentioned includes Catherine Adams, Jasmine Asbell Wright, Miranda Bennett, Ed Bennett, Sarah Brooks, Selena Caldwell, Teresa Conway Futch, Brittany Copeland, Chelsea Hamilton, Wendy Heckman, Jason Helwich, Andrew Hess, Vicki Jenkins, Evan Myrick, Terry Paul, and Heather Walker. And the next partner to join us was D&G Insurance, led by Principal Glenda Smalley. Glenda joined Point North in November of 2020 as well. Her office is located in Zebulon, Georgia, and Glenda and her team specialize in providing transportation insurance for the commercial trucking industry with a focus on small fleet protection. Glenda and her team will shortly be locating with the AHW team and joining forces with Caribou and AHW to form the Point North Transportation brand that Mary mentioned earlier today. That'll be happening sometime early this year in 2022. Bill, Glenda's a delight to work with. I think everybody has
Yep.
said so.
Yep,
So,
glad to have met Glenda. Actually, Glenda knows a number of the people that we've done business with in the past, and never been to Zebulon before. I've been in Georgia for since 1979. Had never had the opportunity or pleasure of being in Zebulon, and I'm glad that we're there now. So Glenda and her team have done a great job. Their first year with us, they had significant growth, and just looking forward to expanding our production in our small fleet transportation group.
we always build forecasts and estimates when we have partners join, and I think Glenda surpassed her forecast by almost 50%, if not more. She was just had a fantastic first year, and despite being busy, was never too busy to work on other accounts with producers throughout this agency. The team that works with Glenda is Susan Klein, Jama Justice Green, Tina Leonard, Sonia Holtzclaw, and Amber Payne. And next on the list that I just mentioned, which will be co-locating with D&G soon in Zebulon, is the Alexander, Heath, and Walker team. That's AHW. The principal of AHW was Vicki Sharpton. I believe Vicki worked in that agency for about 20 years before she finally purchased it and has been there almost another 20 since. AHW joined us in June of 2021, and as mentioned, is located in Barnesville, Georgia, but we'll be relocating with D&G in Zebulon probably by the end of the month. AHW also specializes in transportation for the commercial trucking industry, has a focus on small fleet protection, and Vicki and her team will join with other small fleet operations throughout the agency, including the Caribou team, to help build out this Point North Transportation brand. Vicki, we've had a lot of time to visit with Vicki too, and always interesting to talk to. And
Right. So first time in Barnesville, Georgia as well. Glad to have been there, and it's close to Zebulon. I will say that combining them with D&G, a new location is going to be a great facility, and it has the largest and best sign of any of our locations. A big sign
does.
out front on the highway. So
we'll have to make sure we share that sign soon if we
Yeah,
haven't
and
put it out in our newsletter
we
yet.
have, I'll go ahead and mention Jackie Merritt and Kaylee Sharpton are also there with us.
Joining us with that team. And next, certainly not least, is the Alabama Insurance Exchange Agency, which joined Point North in December of 2021. The principals at Alabama Insurance Exchange include Clayton Taylor, Ron Simpson, Michelle Kidd, Nolan Sasnick, and Natalie Edwards. The Alabama Insurance Exchange office is located just a few minutes away from our other locations in Birmingham, Alabama. Alabama Insurance Exchange, AIE, as we often call them, call that team, offers both commercial and personal insurance with a number of programs, including a personalized middle market and private client practice, an architect professional and artisan program. And AIE just further rounds out and develops our talent in that area, Bill, and the greater Alabama area in general.
Yeah, Mary and I had the pleasure of meeting Clayton Taylor a number of years ago and visited at their office. And at that time, Clayton was not ready to move forward on anything. And a few years later, I think Matt Kilgore and Jonathan Scarborough reached back out and had a conversation. And of course, we re-engaged with Clayton, and glad to have Clayton Taylor, his wife, and all the folks there at Alabama Insurance Exchange on board. Gives us a great presence combined with Iron Mountain in Birmingham and the metro area.
And they've quickly joined us and have begun their transition to our processes and systems. So reach out and offer them an encouraging word and meet them. The team there includes Cassie Agan, Lori Blanchard, Nolan Sesnick, Natalie Edwards, as we mentioned before, who are principals, Pam Gentry, Cindy Goolsby, Myra Herrera, Michelle Kidd, Vicki Langston, Debbie Lovelady, Ron Simpson and Clayton, who are also principals, Linda Taylor, Karen Thompson, and Alan Whitworth.
Okay, I think that's pretty much a review of all of our new partners. And again, thanks for joining us. And next year,
Cross-sell with
looking forward to have all of
Mhm.
you back here in either Atlanta or Birmingham for a joint meeting. But
Yes.
again, I hope that gives you some idea of all the new people that have joined us the last 2 years. So I think we're going to move to another break. Okay, thank you.
All right, welcome back. Before we get back into this, I do want to let Jonathan know that no, we are not wearing makeup. This sheen comes all natural. And secondly, Kyle, I'm glad that we could take you back to hanging out with your grandparents and watching QVC as a child. But really getting into it, this is really the most exciting part of the presentation for us, is really recognizing our team members for the awards and achievements that we've accomplished over the last year. So Bill, turn it over to you for the first one.
Yeah, I'm going to give the awards, but I almost feel like I want to give the high school scoreboard, because that's what I feel like. I could get used to doing this.
Well,
maybe.
let's do this every week.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah.
Maybe we want to interview with
We'll bring you
Channel.
the news.
Okay.
All right.
Well, customer service award. Customer service is really important to all of us. Of course, we can sell accounts and we can, talk about all the great things we do with generating new business. But what rubber meets the road in keeping our customers happy and retaining business. And so it's really important that we have a strong account management team to take care of the customers and keep things in the middle of the road. So along with that, we have this year's Customer Service Award. It's awarded to a team member who has exhibited exceptional skills in client communication. And the first person on the board there is Elaine Bielenberg in Commercial Lines. I want to thank Elaine for her efforts this year. Also, Wanda Evans in Commercial Lines in Birmingham. Thank you, Wanda. And Jennifer Collins here in Atlanta in Personal Lines. Jennifer has been our perennial leader in Personal Lines customer service and production. Next award goes to the Team Player Award. This again is awarded to a team member who has provided exceptional leadership and support to their teammates. The award winners in Team Player Award, Tammy Garmany, Commercial Lines, Tiffany Green, Commercial Lines, Cindy Oliver in Personal Lines, and Tina Adams in Benefits. Thanks very much for your efforts in winning the Team Player Award. Thank you. The next award is for Above and Beyond. Awarded to a team member who has been a key contributor to the agency's success. First on that list is Angelica Garcia, who's in our Commercial Lines Department. Rick Langley in Gainesville, Georgia, in the Benton Parker Transportation Unit. And Melody Markham, who's in Personal Lines at McNeil. Next award category is Coach of the Year. Self-explanatory, but go Bengals.
But very important.
Awarded to a team member who provided exceptional training and educational support to other team members. Again, Christy Campbell, Commercial Lines in Atlanta, Becky Streetman in Commercial Lines Atlanta, Tabitha Ryder, who is one of our key Personal Lines people. I know a number of you have met Tabitha. She's helped also in our training with new associates.
And this has been great because training and coaching has been something that's become very difficult the last couple of years.
Right.
In the remote environment.
Tabitha's been out there, and Becky, she's been in this office helping with training as well.
And Christy as well. Y'all have really done a great job.
Next award is Embracing Change Award. Awarded to a team member who has embraced difficult change and new processes during an acquisition or period of transformation. In the past, I'll mention this, before the pandemic, it was much easier to transition a new partner. We had people on site, it was just a much better, easier environment to work in. So when we have folks who have stepped up and dealt with making sure that things happen, that we could get the transition done, people trained, that's what this award's about. It's awarded to a team member who has embraced difficult change and new processes during an acquisition or period of transformation. The first award goes to Kaylee Sharpton in our Transportation Unit, Terry Paul in Personal Lines, Casey Poston in Transportation, and Miranda Bennett in Sales in Foley, Alabama. Again, congratulations to everyone. Congratulations, and thanks for all your efforts and help during this last year.
All right, now on to something near and dear to my heart is the sales awards. But before we get into the individual awards, I'd like to recognize the top performers for 2021. You can see new business. We've got our top 10 up there with Brandon Tucker coming in at number 1. Brandon really came on strong second half of last year, really has gotten into a niche of Amazon delivery and DSPs, which is the direct service provider. So those vans that pull up to your house multiple times a day, there's a good chance we're insuring those. Curtis Parker in transportation really turned it on this year and has kind of got over the hump and really excelled. Tyler Gaines, not a new name to this list. Tyler's always one of our top performers and it continued so. Will Jose. Will has been with us a long time and really has been a good advocate for everything we're trying to do here. But where Will's really excelled here is working in teams. He's really teamed up well with Ken Burnett and Benton Parker office and Brandon here in Atlanta and has really worked well in developing team atmosphere and really growing his book and really had a great year last year. James Brown over in Birmingham and Iron Mountain. James only been with us since 2020 and really had a great year, came out the gate strong and was really able to hold on. Eric Silver really did another great job this year. He's not a new name to the list. He continues to perform and we're proud of what he's able to do and also helping other guys. Paul Holleran, who also oversees our management liability practice. Paul joined us in 2018, 17.
Sounds good. It's somewhere near there.
And he's the smartest.
Sorry, Paul.
And he's our smartest employee with his Duke education. But
yeah, he's our Duke man.
So Paul had a great year last year, came on strong toward the end of the year, but Paul's also been a very good resource for our young guys and helping them understand coverage, helping them develop. Harrison O'Neill, which actually the next two, I'll speak to Harrison and James together. They both started the same day. And it's really unique to have two guys within their first full year of production be on this top 10 list. So really a testament to them, really a testament to them working together. They joined in 2020 in the middle of a pandemic when we didn't really have anybody in the office to help them develop, help them go. They just got out there and really got after it. And then lastly, Donna Henderson. Donna joined us with Caribou in 2014, I believe. But Donna works in our small fleet and is just as steady as they come and continues to perform at a high level.
Right.
And while new business is always important, so is retention and just managing your total book of business. So I'd like to recognize our top 5 people in total production. Thomas Louie in transportation. Fred Mitchell, primarily construction and bonds. Fred is, those of you who don't know, is been with us since 2013. He has converted his office his garage into an office in Columbus, Georgia, and still continues to perform at a high level. So, Fred, thank you for all you do.
Thanks for maintaining our Columbus office in your garage.
We don't hear from him much, but when we do,
Appreciate it, Fred.
it's always good. Lewis Carnes over in Birmingham, with a big focus in hospitality. Kirby Smith, who was one of the original members of our producer development program and really fell into a niche with non-emergency medical and has continued to be one of our top performers. And Ken Burnett, who's a long time with Benton and Parker and really does a great job in working with our team in developing transportation business. All right, so going to the individual awards. First award goes to Eric Silver for the Stewardship Award. Eric joined us in 2018. He's consistently been top performer in new business. He fully embraced the culture we were trying to build and what we were trying to do. Through a lot of our careers, we've seen that producers can generally work on an island. But one of the things we wanted to do is to build a culture of teamwork, camaraderie, and Eric fully embraced that. And really, I think the big thing to it is Eric, selfless. He takes just as much of a vested interest in the success of our other producers as he does himself. And I think that's important in all of us and things we should do because we're all in this together. So, with what Eric's been able to do the last couple years, well, in January 1, we've promoted Eric to Director of Producer Development. So Eric is really overseeing the day-to-day accountability, organization, strategy, structure of our new producers when they're coming in, because we want to get them off to the right habits early. And Eric's really taken that under his wing and is doing a great job. So great job, Eric. Next award is the Rookie of the Year. Harrison O'Neill. So Harrison joined us September 2020, as I mentioned, with James. So Harrison was an underwriter at Auto Owners, and the first time I met Harrison was probably 2019, and he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do, wasn't sure he wanted to be a producer. You know, we've all seen underwriters try to transition into sales. It doesn't normally work. So, you know, we weren't sure, but Harrison was persistent, continued to follow up, and, you know, with that, we decided, well, let's give him a shot. And not only did he exceed anyone's expectations, he's surpassed anybody who's ever been in the development program, and he's the fastest to ever validate within his first year of production. So Harrison has become a model that we go to when we're trying to sell people. If you want to be successful, do what he's doing. So great job, Harrison. Next is the Breakthrough Award. This award goes to the person who really just launched, with no better word to put it. So Curtis Parker, congratulations, joined us in 2017, and Curtis has consistently written business, always kind of between that 50, 75,000 range. And last year he generated more than 200,000 in revenue. And when we're looking at those numbers, it's not just about one account that drove you there. It's about consistency month over month and seeing that your hard work is paying off. So he had 7 months over $10,000 in revenue and 4 of those months over $20,000 in revenue, which means he put together a complete year. And another thing for Harrison, and it's kind of a lesson to, or another thing for Curtis, and kind of a lesson to some of you younger producers out there is, you know, you don't always write accounts the first year you work on them, especially larger accounts. You need to stay in front of them. You need to build up. People buy from people they like, and it's all about relationships. So great job with Curtis and persevering and continuing to push and breaking through. And lastly, for me, we'll announce the Producer of the Year, and this award goes to Tyler Gaines. So Tyler joined us in 2019, and ever since he's been here, he has been a top 3 performer. It says his book doubled from 19 to 20. It also doubled from 20 to 21. He brought in over 190,000 of new business, but with that, we know that writing business is important, but also is retaining your business. He had the least amount of attrition of any producer in Point North last year. On top of that, Tyler also has embraced what we're trying to do here and has, you know, he takes a vested interest in our newer guys to making sure they're successful. He works with them. He's always willing to go on a call with them to help them. And he always pushes the limits a little bit, which I think a lot of successful producers too. You know, we can be more patient with someone who pushes the boundaries if they're performing, but he always stays within them. So Tyler, great job. Great job to all the award winners.
Congratulations to everyone. I will say that I didn't mention it earlier, but we did $4 million of new revenue in the agency last year. This year, for us, due to our continued growth, our goal needs to be to produce $5 million, which is a tough thing to get to when you have producers come in and write business and start handling accounts. You know, they get busy with renewals. So it means that we have to continue to hire new talent into our producer program. And I'm saying that because all of us can be instrumental in recruiting and bringing in the talent. So we need to hire a net 5 positive, active producers, as many as 8 this year. That's quite a bit, but 8 gets us an extra $1 million of production if everyone is hitting their stride. So it may take 10 or 12, but you can see that it's necessary for us, especially in these early months of the year, to be out recruiting and bringing in new producer talent. So anybody that you see out there that can be a friend, an associate, an insurance company person, or a relative, if you know someone, preferably with experience, just a few years, we'd love to have the referral.
Yeah, I mean, I want to echo that. We're looking for talent. We'll talk to anybody. You never know where it's going to come from. So if you could think of anyone you think might be successful in this career, please.
And we do
pass them
have,
on in.
I think we have a little referral.
We have a
fee,
referral
too.
bonus.
Yeah, we have a referral bonus. And lastly, there's an award that Pam wanted me to award, and it's an important one, the $1 Million Award. And actually, it's $1.5 million. This is about our accounting team of Thomas Davis, Brandon Mebbs, Cameron Rowe, Michael Easterwood, and a special mention to Sharon Callahan. This group of people last year during the pandemic, when we were bringing in new partners and transitioning direct bill commissions had put in over $1.5 million worth of direct bill commissions in a 2-month period so that we could get current with our accounting and commissions payable, et cetera. So great job to that team. And they win the $1 million award, which is a special award one time only, hopefully. We don't have to do that every time. Anyway, I think we're going to have the lunch, and there's a special video that you should be seeing here shortly, which will be, I think you'll enjoy, of the photos and all the things that our team members sent in prior to the meeting. So,
Real quick,
yeah.
just before we break, is there any questions?
Any? No, okay, no
No
questions.
questions? We nailed it all? Oh.
All right, just make sure that you tune back in for our speaker after lunch. I think you'll really enjoy Joan Woodward. I've seen her presentation several times, and she will be very informative and interesting. So thanks again. Enjoy your lunch. See you back at 12:30.
12:20 or 30?
12:30.
12:30.
See you back at 12:30. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.